Hello everyone. I'm here today. I mentioned this in my last Facebook Live that I was going to start from today on Mondays to give you my biz or life or biz wisdom post as a live Facebook Live video, if that makes sense. So here I am starting, and welcome all of you. If you're not here live, then hopefully you'll watch it at a later point. And what I thought I'd start off with for my very first Facebook Live on a weekly basis is to tell you a little bit about my signature system, which is called the 7 Pillars to Balance. And the reason I thought that it would be a good idea to be able to do that is because it just encapsulates my whole philosophy around productivity, both for our personal lives and for our business, because I love a holistic approach, and that's the way that I work. And also it would give you a sense of where I'm coming from in the way that I work with people, the way that I view my whole life in terms of productivity, but also success. So the balance is, well, it's a word in itself, obviously, and I am all about balance. I'm Libran. It's just something that I just can't imagine a life not wanting to be able to create that as much as possible. Obviously, it's not realistic all the time, but it's something to strive for. I know I feel better when I feel more in balance. And it's also an acronym. So I'll go through these letters quickly as my contribution, as I said, to life or biz wisdom in the post today. So B stands for begin with the mindset and the vision. So many of you I know already, coaches, healers. Some of this may be familiar with you or to you, but it may not be for everyone. And one of the really crucial things, I'm a coach and a therapist, that we think about and work with clients about is on changing our mindset. So it can be a mindset that is perhaps more on the negative side, doubting, having limiting beliefs, in other words, beliefs that actually don't help us, and it's sabotaging, self-sabotage is unfortunately what often can happen when we're not moving forward in our lives in the way that we really want to. So I will work with somebody around changing their mindset, and that can be both on the conscious and definitely on the subconscious level, and using a whole lot of different modalities to be able to do that. So having the right mindset is absolutely crucial if we're going to be moving towards what it is that we really want in both our businesses and in our lives generally. Our relationships, what we want to see happen in the future, in our lives, in our enjoyment and our fulfillment in life, which for me, productivity being holistic, it's as much about the fulfillment and what I call the being in life as it is the doing, which is, more around, completing, getting things done and that sort of thing. So the mindset's very important. The next one that goes with that is the vision. And that's having a vision of where you want your life and your business to be. We don't want to be going through life just stumbling from one thing to the next. It's actually far better, and we actually have far more control over what happens to us than we often think. So creating with basically a dream. If you're used to working perhaps in corporates, you might be used to the idea of a vision, mission statement, that sort of thing, value statement. And I actually love working with people to identify their values, because they're the things that really guide and anchor our vision. So it's having, as I said, this dream of what we want our life and our business to be. And then that becomes almost like a bullseye of where we'll be aiming towards with all the things that we do and feel and be, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of getting more towards what it is that we really want. So that's the first one, is B, for beginning the mindset and the starting with the vision. Then the next letter is A, and A is arranging your priorities. And so priorities, and I'm going to be focusing on our meetup tomorrow night on that, is what are the things that we actually want to either do or feel or experience, that's important to us, usually more from a deeper level rather than yes, it can be more, tasks that happen on a day-to-day basis. And they're perhaps the ones that tend to be more urgent or ones that are more automated. And priorities make up those as well as the deeper sort of priorities in our lives, so aspects of our lives that we want to prioritize. And that does encompass time management. But I love looking at time management being managing ourselves in relation to time rather than managing time. And I'm looking at changing my language around all those things that make up that as well. But it does incorporate how to identify the tasks that we want to be spending our time on doing. And then, so arranging our priorities because, we can't do everything at once. L is then, so BAL is then leveraging our focus. And I held a workshop recently, and a few of you came along, on focus. And focus is really, really important because when we focus on we want to be able to focus on the things that are going to take us closer to having our vision fulfilled. Most recently, though, interestingly, I've been reading about unfocused time, and it's something that I actually want to incorporate and will incorporate more when I'm talking with clients and people generally about focusing. So there's the focus on our if you want to call them, to-dos, our goals, our dreams, our visions, but it's also allowing unfocused time from the point of view of having time and ability to be able to daydream. I've talked before in other areas in regards to the importance and the value of doodling and that sort of thing. So that actually really helps our creativity, and in turn can help our focus on when we're wanting to work on the more specific, inverted commas, specific structured activities. So that's L. So we've got BAL. A is the next one, and that is automating I used to call it systems. I've actually now refined it more to being routines and habits so that we can set ourselves up for success in terms of when we can automate things, we actually can, in a way, almost set and forget. And it means then that our habits that are really nurturing and help us are automated, and so we don't have to make as many decisions. There's a whole body of evidence about the what happens with decision fatigue, and if we have to consciously make decisions all the time, it can be quite tiring. So it's a matter of automating a lot of our rituals, and these are ones that are really positive, that help move us along, and working on those both in our businesses and as well as in our personal lives. Then the N is for nurturing our creativity and our passions. And a lot of you I know are creative in many ways, but perhaps there's a need or a benefit for you to be looking at, oh, hello, Joy, thank you, to be able to also provide or have a bit of a focus on, where was I up to? On our other creative pursuits. So it can be, thank you, Joy. I know you love nurturing. You're so good at it. And it's just so important, isn't it? For those of us who love to nurture others and for us receiving the nurturing as well. And yes, I was talking about nurturing our creativity and our passions. So really setting time aside. And if you're particularly creative in, certain ways, then it's an opportunity to really nurture creativity in another way. And also, our passions. And of course, Joy, you're an expert at that yourself, and how much it benefits our lives generally, but also specifically in terms of improving our creativity in a whole lot of other areas, and helps with our focus, as I mentioned before, with the daydreaming, and it's just fun. And life's not meant to be hard work all the time, and our business isn't meant to be like that. So it's bringing in fun and play and letting us, take some time out and really recharge. So that's all around that. And for some people, unfortunately, they've been so much in work mode that they're not even sure what their passions are anymore. They might have had them when they were much younger and maybe had kids and starting business. Yes, so true, like watching sunset. Exactly. And it's often the most simple things, isn't it? It doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be expensive. So doing, really having a focus on, as I said, our creativity, our passions is really important. Then the C in my balance acronym is creating sustainable self-care habits. So that's around really nurturing, again, the nurturing theme, taking care of ourselves. So around, obviously it's eating well, it's having enough time for physical activity. As I said before, just just then about the passions and that. Also, all of the other, it's around also setting boundaries, and whether that be at work or at home. That's something I'll often work with people on. This idea of saying no, and us women, we tend to not want to do that. We want to please everybody, and that's wonderful in lots of ways, but not necessarily always serving us. And self-care is important. I've got it as one of the daily themes. So looking at all different ways to be able to do that, from a physical aspect, energetically, mentally, and spiritually as well. Then the E is the last one, and that is energizing our lives. And there's a few different aspects, and I love this one. I love working with people around how to help them be more organised and reducing clutter. I don't work with people who say severe clinical hoarding, for instance, and I don't go to people's homes. But in terms of clutter, again, both in someone's home, giving some advice, helping people with that, or in their business, and it might be, their computer, it can be their work desk, whatever. But talking about what the role that clutter has and what it is, it takes energy, and that's why it's under the E for the balance acronym, is that because all matter, if we've got something physically cluttered, it takes up energy, and of course mental clutter does as well. And so that means that we are diverting our energy to it, whether we're consciously aware of it, and quite often we're not. We're often unconscious about it, but it does drain us. And it becomes a blockage to what it is that we're wanting to do. So I can work with people around minimising their clutter, and often if there's a difficulty with letting something go, whether it would be something particularly, physical, or it could be a thought, there's reasons underneath that. And I love using technique, emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping, in particular, to be able to work with somebody on that. And I might use that as a focus for another Facebook Live another time. Also with E and energy, I also love talking about the masculine and the feminine. And many of you might be familiar with it, that in business in particular, we can have a need to be in our masculine. Productivity itself is a masculine word. We've got to put ourselves out there with our marketing and sales, and generally speaking, I think that's probably more masculine. So is setting up systems and that sort of thing. But just as important is our feminine, using and balancing our feminine energy. And so, that can be the idea of when, reflecting, resting, really, perhaps being softer in some of the language that we use in our marketing, the way that we are with people, networking, that sort of thing. So I can also, incorporate that into what I do with clients and that as well. And of course, energy also relates to just our physical, mental, spiritual energy, and looking at how it's a bit related to managing our priorities and time management. You know, a lot of us have different rhythms in our energy. So, for instance, I'm not the best early bird in the world, but I know, Joy, you, for instance, are an early riser. Some of us, you know, we perhaps have more energy later in the day, even evening, and of course, you know, night owls are renowned for that. So if that's an issue for somebody, that they're feeling their energy levels are depleted, I can work with them going through an energy audit and identifying how, thank you, Joy, how the way that we structure our time can actually be utilised or can capitalise on the times when we have our peak energy versus times when our energy might be low. So they're all the areas that relate to energy. So that's my balance acronym. As I said at the start, I thought I'd go through it for those of you who haven't heard me talk about that before. And as I said, I use a holistic approach that also incorporates the conscious as well as the unconscious strategies and tools and ways of being, and looking at it from the business as well as the personal aspects. So I just wanted to give you, as I said, an introduction into that. If any of you've got any questions or comments, you're welcome, of course, to add them below underneath this Facebook Live. And I look forward to seeing you next week with my next Biz and Life Wisdom installment as a Facebook Live. And also, if any of you want to do your own Facebook Lives in the group, I'm more than happy for you to be able to do that on any of the theme days that you see relevant. You know, love engagement, interacting, and, you know, we get a different energy when we're doing a live, don't we, than merely posting. I mean, they're great too, but feel welcome to do Facebook Lives as often as you might like. Okay, I'll say goodbye now and speak to you soon. Bye.